From the Premier facing a recall petition to Peter Guthrie's Alberta Party leadership move and Naheed Nenshi's first fall sitting. Time now for tonight's politics panel. And joining us this evening, Chaldeans Mensah, faculty member in the Department of Political Science at MacEwan University, and Barry Morishita, former leader of the Alberta Party and a former mayor of Brooks. Good evening to you both. And let's begin with Danielle Smith, now facing a recall petition.
The process is being abused. All you need to do is have $500, hire a CFO, and write a 100-word reason why you are launching a petition.
My community is what counts. And if nobody speaks up, then there will be no change. And I am not a quiet lady.
The recall Danielle Smith petition says she has shown little effort to understand those she was elected to represent. Danielle Smith says she is participating in a town hall in the riding this weekend and is happy to receive feedback. She joins Environment Minister Rebecca Schultz and Technology Minister Nate Glubish, who have also been added to the list of 21 MLAs now facing recall petitions. Chaldeans, how big of a bump in the road do you see this being for Danielle Smith?
Oh, no, it is a big bump in the road, Michael. It is distracting from the government's agenda and is going to really force these MLAs into trying to protect their turfs. If you read the statements from the applicants behind these recalls, it's very clear that they're not happy with government policy. They think the government is not responsive enough. They're also concerned about the use of the notwithstanding clause. So it covers the whole gamut. And I think what this does is really put the government off its agenda. And so I think that the government has to act very quickly and try to reform this recall act. To make it use the way it was intended originally to deal with real egregious situations facing MLAs.
All right, so Barry, you ran against Danielle Smith in the Brooks Medicine Hat riding. How surprised are you someone in that constituency would go to the effort to try to get her recalled?
Well, I'm not surprised. There's still a significant amount of people that don't support the UCP even in southern Alberta. I think what it comes down to, though, is that, Danielle Smith has put herself in a tough position. You can't, on one hand, say, I believe in citizen-led initiative, I believe people have a voice, and then say people are abusing a process that exists for them to use. And as Chaldean said, it is distracting for them because now they have to deal with this, and they are on the fence because you can't be in favor of citizen-led referendum and then say when citizens lead another initiative that's certainly within the legal boundaries here in Alberta to say, well, that's being abused. I think the other thing for Danielle Smith is that she's trying to satisfy so many factions of her party. You can see that the juggling act is becoming increasingly more difficult to handle.
Chaldeans, to pick up on some of your earlier points, Don Braid wrote in his Calgary Herald column that the UCP may regret not changing the Recall Act. Has this reached the point where the government really does have pause for concern?
Yeah, Michael, I think that they missed an opportunity with Bill 14 to really head us off. Could have clarified the intent of the Recall Act, modernized it a bit to make sure that it dealt with real serious cases of misbehavior by MLAs. As it is now, it's wide open and people are using it as a way to express their dissatisfaction with the government. So I think, Danielle Smith and her government missed this opportunity. I think that most likely in the next sitting, they will try to come back and address it. It's really opened the gates, and now opponents are using it very, very effectively against the government.
All right. Next up, Peter Guthrie signaling on social media that he has taken over as leader of the Alberta Party. Back in the summer, Guthrie and fellow former UCP MLA Scott Sinclair revealed their intentions of joining and rebranding the party as the Progressive Conservatives. The UCP has since pushed back, including with Bill 14 to restrict names political parties can use in the province. Barry, as a former Alberta Party leader, what is to be made of this Peter Guthrie development?
Well, I think it signals that Peter's serious about trying to provide an alternative to a conservative alternative to the UCP, a right of center alternative. I think, though, he has a lot of headwinds here. When you think about 2015 and you think about the election results, certainly there'll be those who are to the right are going to be scared of the NDP and what's Peter doing, kind of splitting the vote. But I think to that point, I think Peter is actually on the right track. I think Alberta needs a centrist alternative. I think it's a three-party system with strength is not a bad thing for Alberta. And I think the fact that he can't use conservative in the name by legislation isn't going to prevent him by calling themselves the Progressive Conservative Alternative or some sort of language to that effect. People in Alberta think they're conservative, so if they see a conservative alternative, they're certainly going to give it due consideration.
Chaldeans, what's your read on the kind of road that lies ahead for Peter Guthrie in this role?
Oh, it's going to be a tough road. We have to remember the Alberta Party has gone through various rejuvenations, has had many leaders, including Barry Morishita, Stephen Mandel. I think if you go way back, I think the most effective leader of them all, I think, is Greg Clark. But now they have a foothold in the legislature. But I think there's no question that this Alberta Party is going to be victimized by the intense polarization of Alberta politics. The two-party system is here to stay, and I think anybody that tries to bring in the third option will have a difficult road ahead. But, it's worth a try. Others have tried it before. We'll see whether Peter Guthrie is successful this time.
Barry, one last quick one on this. If not progressive conservative branding, do you see it staying Alberta Party? How big of a makeover may be on the way?
I don't know if I don't think a big makeover is on the way. I think, they certainly saw the value in the progressive conservative brand because there was a lot of people that were connected to it for a long, long time. When it comes right down to it, I think more importantly is that Peter does have an advantage. I think the Alberta Party did very well when Greg Clark was in the House. When I was leader, as an example, we did our share of trying to get someone to represent us that was already elected, that wasn't really a fan of the current government's direction. We weren't successful, but the fact that Peter's going to be in the legislature, he's going to have media coverage, he's going to have a foothold in there. And let's face facts, I think there are a lot of disaffected conservatives out there looking for an alternative. So if he can magnify the media spotlight he has to his advantage, I think it is, as Chaldeans said, a very tough road. It's certainly a road that you could see a little bit of success going into the next election.
Okay. Time for us to take a bit of a break. But when we come back, following up on Naheed Nenshi's fall-sitting reflections. More from our politics panel in a moment. Welcome back. NDP leader Naheed Nenshi joined us off the top this evening for a year-end interview, a conversation that focused largely on what ended up being a contentious fall sitting. Chaldeans, with the session now over, the UCP caucus says it was full of wins for families, healthcare, and the province's future. How do you weigh that against Naheed Nenshi's take?
Yeah, these are two narratives from the government side and from the NDP. I think that one area where the NDP can exploit the political context is on the issue of affordability. I think that there's a lot of room, political mileage to be gained if the party focuses on issues around maybe the auto insurance, affordability in general in terms of housing, food inflation. Yes, so there's a lot of mileage there for the NDP. I think that what I found problematic is his characterization of the notwithstanding clause as unconstitutional. That is not the way to characterize it. The notwithstanding clause is part of our constitution, and the government has every legitimate right to use it, although it comes with political costs.
Barry, with 14 pieces of legislation being passed, what's standing out for you most about how the fall sitting ended up? Was there a dominant theme for you?
Well, I think the dominant theme in there was that the UCP government, Danielle Smith's government's trying to put out these fires as quickly as they possibly can. And they really do, as Chaldean said, they seem to be willing to pay the price with using the notwithstanding clause to move some of that legislation across. I think overall, though, when I listen to Naheed talk about what's been going on in the fall, the longer game is in play for them. And I think for the NDP to be successful, they do have to talk about issues that Albertans are really caring about, affordability, healthcare, education, access to those things. And, Danielle Smith's trying to hold her coalition together. And he saw a lot of legislative pieces that spoke to that. In the end, will it help her in a general? I'm not convinced it will, and we'll see what happens as the next spring session rolls along.
Chaldeans, how do you think Naheed Nenshi fared in his first fall sitting as both opposition leader and now MLA? Is there anything the NDP can point to as a win?
Naheed Nenshi is learning the rules of the game as played out in the legislature. I don't think he committed any kind of faux pas, but he's growing into the leadership role. But one thing I found, and from his statement that he made, is that he's beginning to appreciate that the political context of Alberta is changing. We have a new federal government, Mr. Carney, trying to address some of the challenges from Mr. Trump, which means development of natural resources. And I was very hopeful that he will move away from the Naheed Nenshi of 2015, where he was very, very opposed to or very, very critical of resource development. So I think, Michael, Naheed Nenshi is beginning to appreciate the importance of the natural resource sector, and that leaves me hope that the NDP can make something happen and away from the usual partisan gripes against the government.
Barry, maybe last question to you. Your read now on the possibility of an early election, maybe something in the spring.
I still don't think that's in the cards. I think I don't think the UCP, while they might be financially ready, I don't think they're ready for it. In the midst of all this recall legislation, the kind of the fresh wounds of notwithstanding, I think they want to let some of that go. And they really do need to make some progress on healthcare. That is a thorn in their side, and without any kind of visible improvements, that is going to be a huge albatross for them to carry in an early election. So I personally don't see it. But if the NDP exposes a flank, who knows? But in the meantime, I just don't see that there's the political authority given right now to have that election. It would be tight either way, and I'm not sure that they are willing to take that chance.
Chaldeans, last quick 30 seconds for you. What does this fall sitting pave the way to where the Smith government is concerned in 2026?
Michael, I think attention is going to be focused on the financial challenges facing Alberta. The budget discussion next spring is going to be very, very telling. The government has a deficit situation, and the budget will really tell the tale in terms of how it manages to cope with declining resource revenues.
All right, gentlemen, we'll leave it there for time. Great to see you both. Thank you kindly.
Thank you.
Happy holidays.